getting a head start on defending the 4th of July. Well, July 4th is coming, and you know what that means. Maybe there will be some municipalities that go ahead and decide it's okay this year to have fireworks and 4th of July celebration. Now, we didn't have it a year ago. We were told because of a, quote, pandemic. But that's really not the reason that 95% of the municipalities across this country canceled the 4th of July. It got canceled because of the cancel culture. We had riots happening in the streets. We had cities that were being looted, burned. Police headquarters were even under siege, and in some places had actually been taken over. And city fathers across the nation decided, you know what, if we celebrate the red, white, and blue in America, we could just end up with these people marching down our streets and wreaking havoc and causing problems. We just better not. And Project 1619 came to the forefront. 1619, of course, commemorating the date when, over 400 years ago, the first black slave ended up on the shores of America. And now there is this push to make 1619 the actual official start date of America, because after all, America was built on the backs of slaves. Not only is that incorrect revisionist history, it's absolutely ludicrous when you break it down even logically. Today's leaders of the black movement apparently have forgotten men like Martin Luther King. They have forgotten Medgar Evers. They have forgotten the civil rights leaders who came before them. While there is a past to America, which we're certainly not proud of, this idea that nothing has changed, there has been absolutely zero improvement, nothing has been done to try to correct and rectify, is absolute Marxism. And here's why I say that. In order for Marxism to explain itself, you have to do away with American exceptionalism, because it was this great experiment called the United States that ended the communistic chokehold on the world. It is an utter abysmal failure. And as long as America stays as that, quote, shining beacon on the hill, it is a reminder to the Marxists that their system failed. Their system of oppression, their system of over-control of everything, including money, is not how you sustain yourself over the long term. So what do? You take everything that's right with America and you somehow flip it and make it wrong. That, quote, capitalism is nothing but greed, and it enriches certain people and it absolutely impoverishes others. Now, while there is certainly truth to that, because again, the heart of man is exceedingly wicked. We'll introduce a little biblical theology here. And there are individuals that have selfish intent, and they don't care who they step on, who they crush, who they destroy in the process, as long as they get more. But that happens under whatever the so-called political structure is. Now take capitalism, for example. Capitalism is what fueled the arsenal of liberty which crushed tyranny during World War II. The fact that we were so quickly able to mobilize our nation and create what was needed to win World War II. And President Trump demonstrated that during the pandemic. And you've got certain people out there that are saying, he should have done more to turn factories around so that they could produce what we needed. He did. Why do you think we had Operation Warp Speed? Where do you think all those ventilators came from that Ford started rolling off the manufacturing assembly line to the point we didn't even need them and we sold them and gave them away to nations around the world? Where do you think all that came from? And it's that capitalistic, where we release the individual to be innovative and creative, and the sky is the limit as long as it is legal, and I'll throw in here moral, but as long as it's legal, man, go for it. That has brought more wealth to the world and to this nation than any other system. So Marxism, in order to be self-perpetuating and to sustain itself, has to somehow turn that's bad. And this is a country that was built on the backs of slaves, as if there is now trying to draw this equivalence between ancient Egypt being built on the backs of Hebrew slaves. Now, the truth is, yes, when America was founded on July the 4th, 1776, when we declared independence. Obviously, it actually happened before that. That was the official signing of the Declaration. And now that would trigger, obviously, a war with England, not once, but twice. Not only the American Revolution, but the War of 1812 to sustain our independence. This idea that it was all done by slaves is not only an insult to the memory of great men like Martin Luther King and Medgar Evers and those who fought not just to be free, but to be equal, to be seen as equal. It completely erases the history of our black founding fathers. Oh, yes. You need to do a little homework on that. You need to look into the number of black pastors and black founding fathers. And despite the revisionist history right now trying to make it look like Frederick Douglass did not even consider July 4th, the founding of America, that he was a big proponent of 1619, that is utter bullhock and hogwash. But we had founding black fathers. In fact, you do know that in the late 1700s, early 1800s, there were actually black members of Congress. Look it up. But see, all that is in the process of being washed away, erased, and they want you simply to think that you are still living under an oppressive system of slavery even now. Ask yourself, why are so many of these so-called BLM members, why do they own mansions? Why are they millionaires? Why do some of the so-called civil rights leaders of today, the supposed replacement team of Martin Luther King, the Jesse Jacksons and the Al Sharptons, why do these guys live like kings? Well, I can tell you, in a Marxist system, there's really no such thing as it's equal for everybody. No, it's not. The party leaders within communism live like kings, and the people still live like peasants. You know what has brought some robustness to places like Russia? Capitalism. And even communist China. What brings about their robust economic system? They have communism in place as far as the thought police and who's going to run the country and what you're going to be taught and what you're going to understand and what you're going to be allowed to say. That is communism down the line. But they did embrace controlled capitalism. So what the Marxists want to do is obviously keep us constantly infighting. And part of that is they want to erase and change and vilify our history. After all, can't follow that Constitution. It was written by a bunch of old white guys who owned slaves. I told you last summer that the toppling of statues was just the beginning. It was not the ending. That ultimately that was all going to lead to, we need a new Constitution. We need a new government. We need a new America. And the extreme left is hell-bent on seeing that. And the so-called social democrats, it's just a new name for Marxism. And they will now use black people, because that's one thing that the left does really well, isn't it? They keep them living in ghettos, they keep giving them handouts, and then telling them that somehow it is the conservatives and the Republicans who are oppressing them. And really the only thing that they want these people to do is live on the new plantation, which in this case, in most places, happens to be a ghetto. Live on the new plantation. We'll give you a free Obama phone. We'll give you welfare. We'll give you, because that's code for you're too stupid to figure out how to do this for yourself. We'll give you. But what we need you to do is you better come out every 2 and 4 years and vote for us. And then say thank you while doing it. And so now they want you to believe that this entire system that we have here was built on the back of slaves, and this is where the logic doesn't even play out. You do understand that stifling of real economic growth and creativity and prosperity that happens under slavery is ultimately what defeated the South, right? When the Civil War began, the attitude of the average Yankee, the average Northerner, was if those biscuit-eating cotton choppers want to be free and want to be their own country, let them. What do we care what they do down there? Remember, all of the industry, all of the innovation, that was happening north of the Mason-Dixon line. The factories, the industries, the inventions, the freedom was all happening in the north, where capitalism was flourishing, where Americanism was flourishing. And in the South, where they had absolutely stunted any real growth by simply depending on manual slave labor, yes, only a few got rich, which in the end was their demise, because they didn't have factories, they didn't have manufacturing, they didn't have enough wealth to sustain a war. Not only could they not resupply their troops, couldn't feed them, couldn't pay them, because the wealth was controlled by so few. There wasn't anybody to tax. So from a logical standpoint, the thinking that all of America and its so-called greatness was built on the back of slaves, that's wrong. Not only is it historically wrong, it's logically stupid. This will be the first of several installments, I'm sure, between now and the 4th of July, clarifying and setting the record straight. Hey, that's it for this rant. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you're a subscriber to the channel. Smack the bell, click the word all to get notification of my next rant.